Having selected the product owner, Scrum Master, and the developer team, you have almost completed the first part of forming a Scrum team. Once this is done, the next step is to select the tool the team will be using to run the sprint. Since most likely you are going to develop an enterprise product, there can be many artifacts when it comes to working with a Scrum team. In such cases, definitely your team is going to need a tool to work with Scrum. Meanwhile, when it comes to the set of tools that you want to run a sprint, there are many tools available in the market. It varies from free tools to enterprise tools. It is very important to note that once you have selected the tool for running the Scrum, then you should stick with the same tool until the end of the product development. This helps everyone within the Scrum team to follow the same set of guidelines and at the same time become familiar with the tool's usage. You might be wondering then what are the points that you need to consider when you are selecting a tool. In most of the cases, the team or the company at which you are working is going to have some tool that is used as a standard. In such case, it becomes very easy for you to select the same tool for running the Scrum for your product. In case you are going to select the tool for the first time for your product, then there are some guidelines that you can consider to follow so that it helps you to select the best tool for your product. First and foremost, the tool has to be cost effective for your product. If your product is an enterprise product, then cost will not be an issue most of the time. Second, if the tool has a good integration with other development tools, then it has a competitive advantage compared to those that are standalone product. For example, if you take your DevOps, then it has a great integration with other Microsoft tools like Visual Studio, Microsoft Azure, and so on. When the Scrum tool has tight integration with your development tools, then it makes it easier for your developers when they are working. Finally, depending upon your project, you may need to consider whether the tools should be given access to external partners or external teams. For some products, even the partners would like to see how the Scrum is being executed and what is the current state of the product at any given point of time. In such cases, the tool that you are going to select should allow access outside your corporate network. Just keep this in mind when you are selecting a sprint tool that you are going to select for your product. Having looked at the different characteristics of a good tool, let's look at some of the popular tools available in the market. These are some of the tools that are going to be used by most of the enterprise projects. First, we have product from Microsoft, namely Azure DevOps, that contains a great set of features to work with the Scrum team. Apart from the sprint board, it has got various features such as Azure repository, Azure test plans, continuous integration and continuous delivery, and many other features. I have been using Azure DevOps for more than 5 years and I am very impressed with its feature set. If your development environment involves Visual Studio, then Azure DevOps is a good option. Second, you have another good set of tools provided by Atlassian. One of their products is Jira that helps you to work with Scrum. Third, you have got Trello. It has got both free as well as paid versions. In case you want to try out the Scrum features, then you can create a free account and explore the features provided by Trello. Moreover, this tool is being used by many as a to-do list. Basically, it contains a board with multiple columns or list that we can use group related items together. Finally, you have got a basic tool from GitHub for working with Scrum, namely GitHub Projects. GitHub is used predominantly as a code repository. They have continuously added new features to make it easier for the developers to work with the code. As part of their effort, they have added this benefit of using GitHub Projects, wherein it is going to provide you the basic features of a sprint board. However, it does not provide extensive set of features like Azure DevOps. In most of the cases, the Scrum Master or the product owner is going to take care of selecting the right tool to be used by the entire team. Based on their experience with the product development in the past, they most likely know the right tool to use. Hence, if you are a developer, then you need not worry about this step, as this will be taken care by the Scrum Master or the product owner. Next, let's look at the different set of sprint tools available in the market. Although there are many, I'm going to show you the top 3 that is predominantly used by many other teams. The first is from Microsoft, namely Microsoft Azure DevOps. This is the most popular tool when it comes to using the Scrum at various industries that predominantly works with Microsoft technologies. Within Azure DevOps, they have a category called Azure Boards that is used to implement the Scrum practices. So here you can capture the details that is required for a team to run a sprint. So this involves various artifacts like the requirements, which is called as the backlogs, which are going to cover shortly, and it allows you to plan the list of tasks in a different set of time frames. Also, you can have various sprints that refers to the fixed boundaries, and then you can have the list of all team members that you can add to them, how many days they are available per sprint or per month. You can track the list of all tasks that has been assigned and their current status. And you can view the sprint board, which shows you the list of all tasks and their corresponding state. Basically, it shows whether it's in the current state, to do, in progress, and so on. It has many other charts like sprint burndown charts where you can use it to visually track how the team is progressing. So this contains a major, very important feature sets that are predominantly required for running a smooth sprint. Next, we have the product from Atlassian named as Jira. Just like Azure DevOps, it's going to contain the set of feature sets required to run a Scrum. So if you see here, we have the list of details like to do, in progress, review, and done states. Within each, you have a different set of requirements, which we call it as user stories, being captured here. You basically move all these requirements or user stories from one state to the other state. You can assign the list of all team members, and you can see how much effort is being pending for each of these persons. It contains various other details like sprints, backlogs, user stories. They also have a concept called Epic, as well as you can track the list of all issues. Next to Jira, we have one more product from same company, Atlassian, named as Trello. Most likely you might be heard the word Trello from many different peoples. One popular use of Trello is to use it as a to-do list. Also, it can be used to capture the list of details to run a proper Scrum team. Just like we have seen in Azure DevOps as well as in Jira, you can have multiple different set of states. In this demo's example, it is shown as done state, and also we have the current sprint list, which shows the list of all requirements that needs to be implemented in the current sprint. Then the different states like in progress, as well as anything that requires assistance and so on. So as you can see here, the Trello is very extendable, just like any other boards that you have seen before. A good point with respect to all of these tools is that you can create a free account in all of these websites, whether it's going to be Trello or Atlassian Jira, or it's going to be Azure DevOps. You can create a free account and get started with creating your own projects. When you are working for enterprise products, then most likely they will have an enterprise account with each of these different set of websites. In that case, the account is already established, and most likely you will have your own developer account added to that particular project as well. Hence, your role will be only to get started with these tools. For our current product, Campus Connect at Olympus, we are going to use Azure DevOps. Hence, you'll be using Azure DevOps for the entire course, wherein we'll see how we can use the sprint board to capture the list of all details that we are going to work on. Once you have selected the sprint tool, in our case it's going to be Azure DevOps, let's go back to the same worksheet and fill in the details. So as step 5, you select the tool. So it's going to be Azure DevOps. Let's capture some of the details here so that we have all these details captured in a single place. The selected tool is going to be Azure DevOps, and you can give in the reasons behind why you chose this compared to the others. Although you might be knowing at this juncture, it is always beneficial to document them so that when the different person comes and looks at these details, is able to understand it a lot better. Let's capture some of the core details why you have chosen this specific tool. One main reason is the product development is going to happen in Visual Studio. Basically, this tool, namely the Campus Connect, is going to use most of the Microsoft technologies, something like Visual Studio, and the language is also going to be C#. Hence, I am going to consider this as the main criteria for choosing Azure DevOps. So it is going to have a deep integration that is always beneficial. Next, I also want to use, the team uses Azure repos for source control management. So once we have same set of tools being used for various different purposes, and if everything falls under the same umbrella tool, then it becomes easier for integration. Since the team assumes that we are going to use Azure repos to maintain the source control, then it makes sense to use Azure DevOps to manage the Scrum. Moreover, the DevOps also contains various features that supports continuous integration and continuous deployment. This also you can make note of it so that you know these are the main advantages of using these Azure DevOps. So we can extend to use CI/CD at a later point. So because of all these reasons, you have selected Azure DevOps compared to the other tools in the market. Once you're done with this, the next step, step 6, you prepare the sprint tool wherein you see the list of all details that you have seen before and you try to migrate them to this tool so that that specific tool, namely Azure DevOps, acts as a single place of reference for any persons who wants to know the details about the Scrum. Let's see that next.